The creaking of the ride-tiring gates sent shivers down Eleanor's spine as she pushed them open. The air grew colder, heavier. As she approached the front door, she noticed strange symbols carved into the wood, symbols that seemed to pulsate faintly under the moonlight. Inside, the silence was deafening. Dust blanketed every surface, and the air smelled of decay. Her flashlight flickered as she explored the grand hallway, its walls adorned with portraits of the Carmichaels. The painted eyes seemed to follow her every move. Then she heard it, a faint whisper, almost imperceptible, but undeniably real. "Turn back. You're not welcome here." Eleanor froze. The voice seemed to come from nowhere and everywhere at once. Mustering her courage, she called out, "Who's there?" Silence. She took another step forward, and the floorboards groaned beneath her weight. Suddenly, a loud crash echoed from upstairs. Against her better judgment, she climbed the staircase, her flashlight trembling in her hands. At the top of the stairs, Eleanor found a door slightly ajar, its edges glowing faintly red. She pushed it open to reveal a room bathed in an eerie crimson light. The walls were covered in claw marks, and in the center of the room stood a mirror with an ornate frame. As Eleanor approached the mirror, her reflection seemed distorted, its eyes hollow, its mouth twisted into a grotesque grin. Then the reflection moved on its own, raising a hand to point at the corner of the room. Heart pounding, Eleanor turned her gaze to the corner. There, crouched in the shadows, was a figure. Its limbs were unnaturally long, its face obscured by darkness. Slowly, it turned its head toward her, revealing hollow eye sockets that seemed to drip with black-eyed CHOR.comma. The creature let out an inhuman shriek and lunged at her. Eleanor screamed and stumbled backward, tripping over her own feet. When she looked up, the figure was gone, but the mirror now bore a single word, written in blood: "Leave." Determined to uncover the truth, Eleanor made her way to the basement. The air grew colder with each step she descended, and the stench of rot became overwhelming. At the bottom, she found a room filled with ritualistic markings and a large pentagram etched into the floor. Candles, long extinguished, surrounded the pentagram, and in its center lay an old, leather-bound book. The book's cover was inscribed with the same symbols she had seen on the front door. As Eleanor opened the book, a gust of wind swept through the basement, extinguishing her flashlight. The room was plunged into darkness, save for the faint glow of the symbols on the floor. Then came the whispers. This time, they were louder, overlapping, and frantic. "You shouldn't have come. You can't stop it. It's too late now." The air grew heavy, pressing against her chest. Suddenly, the symbols on the floor began to glow brighter, and the room was filled with an otherworldly hum. A figure began to materialize within the pentagram, a shadowy entity with burning red eyes and claws that scraped against the stone floor. The entity spoke in a voice that seemed to rattle Eleanor's very soul. "You've awakened me. I have been waiting." Terrified, yet unable to move, Eleanor watched as the creature stepped out of the pentagram. It revealed that the Carmichaels had summoned it long ago, hoping for power and immortality. But the ritual had gone horribly wrong, binding the entity to the manor and dooming anyone who entered. "Now, you will take their place. Your soul is mine." Desperate to escape, Eleanor grabbed the book and began flipping through its pages, hoping to find a way to banish the creature. She found an incantation, but the words were written in an ancient language. The entity advanced toward her, its claws outstretched. Eleanor began reading the incantation aloud. Stumbling over the unfamiliar words, the creature let out a deafening roar, its body writhing as the symbols on the floor began to glow again. The room shook violently as the ritual reached its climax. The creature's form began to dissolve, its screams echoing through the manor. But just as Eleanor thought she had succeeded, the book burst into flames, and the creature lunged at her one final time. Darkness engulfed her. When Eleanor awoke, she was outside the manor, the book clutched in her hands. The building stood silent and foreboding, as if nothing had happened. But as she looked down, she saw the symbols from the basement burned into her skin. The whispers began again, faint but unmistakable. "You can't escape. You are marked now." Eleanor fled the manor, but the shadows followed her. No matter where she went, she could feel them watching, waiting. The story she had sought was now her own nightmare, one she could never outrun.